And welcome everyone. So we're back now. Um, so yeah, there's been a lot of things that have happened, particularly three things I'm going to be talking about because obviously I've got to go ahead and streamline some of the topics I'm going to be talking about, discuss what it is that's happened in the news lately that more or less, hold on, yeah, more or less has happened since I've gotten this stuff here. So, all things considered, I think it's important to discuss these things that have been, cropping up lately. Specifically, we're going to be talking about, I guess you could say, the first set of sorry about that. It's been a while since I've actually played this game via the console, and I'm sort of just taking in what it is I need to be able to, what it is I need to be able to do. But anyways, the first topic we're going to be discussing here is obviously going to be the ice raids, particularly the fact that, well, as I mentioned in the description section there, the insane ones. First, let's see what we've got here in terms of missions. Now, obviously, for those of you who don't know, I'm not going to be talking or discussing whenever there's like characters speaking. They don't really like that. I like to actually absorb what's being said here, so I can, so I can go ahead and be able to absorb what's happening in the game. So yeah.
This is Meta-Surgeon Agrippa 723 Theta speaking. How can I assist you, Inquisitor?
Let's look at the hospital history real quick. This hospital fortress employs a legion of trained doctors and med servitors. It is not an ordinary infirmary, but a facility dedicated to the treatment of inquisitors and also a secret research station. The fortress is equipped with equipment blessed by the machine god, and a separate ward deals with inquisitors who want to undergo some genetic modifications and are willing to pay the price. Okay then.
Your request cannot be granted. I suggest that you seek medical assistance elsewhere. Allow me to clarify. The Magos Biologus with the required skill set is unavailable. Current status: assigned to priority level research for atonement and gathering of sacred data. Our brethren have been studying an epidemic on the St. Abelard relay station. We lost contact with the station recently.
Yeah. I've gone through a lot of these little bits here and there, so I'm not going to be reading them. If you want to go ahead and read them yourself, you're perfectly able to go ahead and simply pause the stream or pause the video if you're watching this after the stream and simply check it out yourself. But yeah, so anyways, the ice raids. What's so insane about them, you might ask? Well, let's be perfectly clear here. ICE as an organization only existed during the. I never really did bother reading this stuff, so let's go ahead and read some of the history before we get into this real quick, just to get it out of the way. One of the big commercial hubs of the subsector, this heavily fortified void station has a secluded monastery pylon, which serves as a very important astropath relay station, transmitting messages, encrypted manifestos, and highly confidential code solves to the various star systems of the subsector. Okay. difficulty. Yeah, let's go with normal because this is like insanely easy, at least for right now, anyways. So it says, I have arrived at the St. Abelard Astropathic Relay Station to find Metrodora Dolima, a skilled Magos biologist conducting important research into a recent outbreak monsters. The report station is, however, in lockdown and all communication channels are cut off. We're detecting a strong chaos presence. I'm entering the station to find out the fate of the Magos biologist. Let's try hard real quick because I think that would probably be a lot better as a good starter here. Because the last few missions were extremely easy. I assume it'll be even easier after I got some gear last time. So yeah. So, anyways, like I was saying, the Bush administration was the organization that decided to go ahead and put together ICE as an effort to, of course, combat terrorism. It's literally a counterterrorism organization whose entire existence is meant to find out who is within the country and deport them as an effect. It was an effort to find people from the Middle East, people who are a particular brown colored persuasion in the Middle East.
Inquisitor, the epidemic that spread through the relay station was just the prelude to a full-scale chaos infestation. The Void Station is in total lockdown until the decontamination teams and the Imperial Guard troops arrive, and that could take time.
Quarantine doesn't concern me, Captain. Think of me as decontamination crew and support team in one.
Do you really believe that the Magos biologist you seek is there, alive?
There are still people on the station. Metrodora Thelema is a sacred priest of the Omnissiah. I believe she can take care of herself.
But anyways, and so with this type of history like that, you can imagine that the organization is pretty damn racist, you know? Given those particular sentiments going on there. You know, you might think, of course, that, oh, like, people who get into cops even with an ACAT mindset, if you would. You know, you might think that they would be more or less indicative of like, you know, some cops would be something along the lines of, oh, maybe I want to go ahead and make my place a little bit better, you know? During the cop force, there's a lot of crime in my area. Not so much here in this regard. You know, because a lot of these people more or less are indicative of the fact that they are just borderline psychotic. Many of the ICE agents that exist in the organization entirely do so from the perspective of entirely exist from the perspective of, oh, there's brown people in the country, they must be here illegally. It's really an insane sort of thing, the fact that we have such an organization around from the Bush era, that whose entire existence more or less is predicated upon literal racism. You know? There were a lot of ICE agents back in the day during the Bush administration, which were just simply going around trying to infiltrate mosques, trying to raid them if you would, even attempting to deport Muslims back then during the time, and it's only gotten worse since then. You know, it hasn't really gotten any better. So it's just really sad and...
Inquisitor, if you don't mind me asking, why are you so sure this Caius Thorn could help your investigation?
He is a space marine, a legendary defender of the Imperium, which makes him the most important member of Klosterheim's retinue. Even if their relationship was as strained as it seems, he must have been very close to the Lord Inquisitor, and he could have knowledge of important details.
So yeah, so what has ICE been doing exactly in this day and age? Why are they talking about them specifically? Well, there have been a number of ICE raids on, in certain places. Really, if we're being perfectly honest about them, really they shouldn't even exist. The reason I say that, of course, is because the way in which they carried out these raids and the places they raided are just absolutely way too much. I mean, they literally walked into a place in which they had, in which there was a restaurant. And they saw the first brown person that they could see, the brownest person that they could see, and they decided to say, "Yep, you're here illegally." Even though the guy was not
I'm ready
veteran,
for my trial of
he
faith.
provided actual ID as to who he was, where he was from, and even given accounting as to why he was there. If they still arrested him, they still arrested and detained him. Like, it's just insane. There's even a business owner who denied quite a bit of the notion that, oh, these people here are illegal. No, they're not. They're actual workers.
Inquisitor, I have completed the task you gave me. There is no trace of the Martyr anywhere in the logbooks of my ship. This ship is ancient and has traveled everywhere in the sector, and still, nothing.
I suspected that much. It was worth a try.
I wish I had the treasured logbook of my rogue trader clan. It has been in the possession of my family since my ancestor received the warrant of trade.
What happened to that logbook?
It has disappeared when the Inquisitorial Purge destroyed the clan headquarters.
It is indeed quite unfortunate, Captain.
So, you know, it's just really a mess, to be perfectly honest. Anyways, like I said, there was like I was saying beforehand, there was a particular business that they ended up breaking, saying that not only are they picking up people who are just regular average citizens, but but they don't have a warrant.
Target acquired.
So yeah. And it's like we're doing warrantless searching. We're doing like just telling us that telling people that they have to see your papers, and then like just arresting them anyways. Some of them being veterans. You know, it's like it feels like Nazi Germany almost to some degree, in this sense. And I really do mean that because, like, if you remember how things sort of began in Nazi Germany, it began with deportations. It began with raids very similar to this, you know? Of course, the pretense was outing communists and so on, you know, outing ideological people and outing foreigners. But, you know, the sentiment more or less seems to be the same in a lot of ways. Absolute ethno-nationalist sort of racist nonsense. Alright. Mass defense perimeter collapse. Loss of the base is imminent. Lord Commissar Varian was fallen. I'll see if anyone's in chat because I decided to go ahead and share this on Twitter. And nope, no one's in chat, so no point in actually continuing with that. I ordered Lord Commissar Baron has fallen. I took command of the remaining forces in the Imperium. Yes, the ranking officer. The astropath order is confirmed as lost. I ordered Bravo squad to retreat. The survivors, but their chances considering stellar activity in the void deck are minimal. As of this moment, Tempestus Garrison Saint Abelard. Is that what the Tempestus Scions are? Has ceased to function as a fighting entity. I shall follow the standard Exodus protocol the Emperor protects. Agency of finding and administrative and find the source of initial chaos and invasive scrap code debilitated the machine spirit, cut out communication, destroyed the primary data vault. The secondary data vault is partially salvageable. The tech priest managed to online a firewall litany for total data loss. His words. According to Lord Commissar Baron, the primary objective of the Saint was very specific: to capture the Saint Abelard astropath, acquire and block this Chernobog telepathic death. Is there a connection to recent outbreaks? Such elaborate tools and coordination are way beyond the capabilities of simple heretic cells. This attack may be part of a greater operation. Further investigation advised. Okay, yeah. Well, I have read a lot of this stuff with the investigations, and so I don't intend to read them myself, really. You can go ahead and check them out yourself in this video. I say this primarily because my friend who had let me play this game initially on his console, he more or less let me go over a lot of this stuff, so I kind of got how things are going, especially the, shall we say, the reveal at the end of the main campaign at the very least, with regards to how this game's going to go. But, you know, it's just a little thing. I won't say anything about it. So that way you guys who are watching this for the first time won't get spoiled on it. But yeah, anyways, it's really just a strange thing to be seeing. And you know what's even stranger is the fact that, like, the people who voted for this to some degree, who are like Latino, Mexican American, those who are immigrants into this country.
Aiming.
Are looking at the situation and going, oh, he wasn't supposed to get us, he was supposed to get some of the bad guys. It's like, he called any illegal immigrant into the country, south of the border, to be like this rapists and murderers. I think he also broadly spoke about Mexicans in the same light as well, in the same vein as well. They're coming across the border, but it's like, you seriously don't think that he was referring to you? You seriously just think he was just referring to other people? How? I think he made it clear when he said that the rapists, they're criminals, they're thugs. I assume some of them are good people. What do you mean he wasn't referring to you? He was obviously referring to you. He was obviously referring to anyone who's just here legally. I mean, he's not just deporting. He's not just targeting illegal citizens, illegal immigrants in the country. Which, like, if you're here illegally, I don't really care one way or the other, so long as you're not committing crimes to such an extent to deserve deportation. That's the thing that I think a lot of people who do this whole that's why I think a lot of these people who engage in the whole rhetoric of illegal immigrants don't really get is that if you're here illegally, you're not actually committing a crime by being here illegally. I mean, you're not committing a crime just by being here illegally. You obviously jumped the border. You probably shouldn't be here in that fashion. But like the reasons why people are here in that fashion are insane to such an extent that once you look into it, you're like, oh, wow, that's actually an insane piece of policy.
Inquisitor, our Arga readings have suddenly spiked to alarming levels. You've reached the center of the chaos infestation. Stay alert.
Like, let me show you what it is I mean. Hold on. Okay, even the AI is completely is being completely idiotic about this in many ways because the green cards expire at around 5 years, but it does basically more or less is more or less indicative of this. Like for example, it just because you immigrate here doesn't mean that you get a green card. You can immigrate into the country here legally without getting a green card. And yet, for all intents and purposes, green cards have to be held for a certain period of time. Green cards have to be held for a certain period of time. Yes, you can work immediately while you're holding them, but it's like there are only a limited amount of green cards, and once you gain full citizenship, you no longer have to use a green card, which means that green card goes to someone else. Usually, you have to wait about 5 years, sometimes 7 years, before the green card expires and your citizenship is finally permanent here. So, but the fact of the matter is that until you get that green card, you can't work. How long does it take for a green card to expire? Oh, I was wrong. 10 years. So it's like, it says also known as permanent resident cards are valid for 10 years. However, some green cards may not have an expiration date. So, once these expiration dates happen, once they come about, the expiration, of course, for 10 years you are a full-on citizen because you've been here for that long. And the green card then goes back into circulation for someone else to be able to get it. That's how this works. So, just how to renew a green card. Oh yeah, and then there's renewals, of course, which means that these things can go even longer, of course. So it's like, huh? It is really fascinating the way in which our system encourages illegal immigration, which is the main problem for illegal immigration into the country, really. Now, if you're coming into it illegally and you're part of some chain gang, you are committing a bunch of crimes that are more or less, sorry, not chain gang, some sort of gang that's south of the border or somewhere else in the world, like Russia or let's say Japan's Yakuza or whatever, and you're here illegally from there and whatnot, then yeah, you should probably be taken and deported in a long ways. But your specific instance each instance should be looked at given the circumstances. Like, were you brought into the country here illegally under certain circumstances that necessitate you being bullied and being ultimately coerced into being a part of the gang? Then you probably shouldn't be deported. You obviously deserve some leeway in the sense that, yes, you committed crimes, but you only did that because the fact that you were coerced to come into the country in the first place, the way in which you were, or the fact that you came into the country and immediately you were coerced into it because of the way in which you came into it. Some people are coming into the country illegally because because they were seen giving a bottle of water to the police in their country, and they have to flee the country because the gangs there are so threatening and so terrible. This particularly happens in Mexico and in other places south of the border too. It's like very obviously bad, but we shouldn't begrudge people who are coming here illegally, and doing all that stuff. Now, the question, of course, is that sometimes is put forth that, oh, we should help our own citizens. We should go ahead and take care of our own. We shouldn't try to give leeway to people who don't really belong here.
Target acquired.
You're in the archives, Inquisitor. Try to find a cogitator that can grant you access to the data vaults.
So, anyways, yeah, and it's like we should simply
Loading.
be having our own citizens being taken care of. We shouldn't be giving all this money, this incredible amount of money, to people who don't belong here, who haven't come to this country legally, and who haven't
This
really...
is the central cogitator of the station. If this Magus Barlogus tried to send a report to her superiors, it must be logged here.
Yeah, who haven't really gone through the proper channels. And to that I say, huh? Like, are we not in America, one of the most populous and most powerful and most economically viable countries on the planet? Should we not be capable even of being able to do both and whatnot? Shouldn't we be able to make it so that we remove all the bullshit that exists in our immigration system that encourages illegal immigration, so that people immigrate here legally and make it easier for them to be here illegally, as well as take care of our own citizens in our own country? Like, also, not to mention the idea that we shouldn't be giving any resources to people who come here illegally to make it easier for them to become citizens, so that way they don't turn to crime and don't turn to these gangs as a means of being able to live within our country, and we should just be able to take care of our own people. Saying that that's like separate is totally insane, because obviously, people who are illegally, who are being taken advantage of by gangs and are doing crime because they're here illegally, they themselves making it so that way they can become legal citizens and so they don't have to resort to this kind of stuff in order to get by, does help us. So it's just a nonsense. It's just completely and utterly nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense to say the things that they say in this regard. Furthermore, I think it's just utterly fascinating how it is people will try to twist themselves in their pretzel to make it seem like that illegal aliens or illegal immigrants are coming to this country and committing crimes on the record numbers, which just isn't true. You know, there's a lot of actual data that seems to bear out the fact that people who come here illegally don't commit crimes because that's how they get deported. That's how they get caught up in ICE. It's how they actually get targeted by the police and get arrested and, you know, get sent out of the country. So it just doesn't make any sense to say these things. But people will go ahead and engage with the rhetoric beyond that, you know. In fact, there are children who, in fact, the first generation immigrants that come into this country, and the second generation people that come into this country who are born here as the children of illegal immigrants, they themselves, yes, are being more likely to commit crimes, but that's because they're American citizens. That's because they're actual citizens who will bear the brunt of the consequences of their crime. So it's like, just doesn't make any sense to claim that the illegals are committing crimes. It would, when in fact it's their children, but I think they know how fucked up it sounds to say that the children of illegal immigrants are committing crimes, therefore we need to get rid of the illegal immigrants. That just sounds incredibly messed up. So much so to the point, it basically sounds like the sins of the father sort of thing. And while that may pull well with a lot of like evangelical sort of religiously fascistic nutcases out there, it wouldn't really pull well with the average voter. It wouldn't really pull well with the average person who would actually do that. But anyways, let's go ahead and read this here. This is Metrodoma Belima recording my message for astropathic transmission. My work is finished here. I have lost 14 teammates to this fascinating malady, which supplied me with valuable subjects that made the identification of the pathogen possible. The infection is undeniable. Imperium in origin, and my research indicates that it must have been transferred to by one of the incoming cargo vessels. I have narrowed down the possible sources to 3 worlds in the subsector. I will visit all 3 to locate the source of the epidemic. Tracy on the side. Okay.
I missed the Magos Biologus on the station. I logged the 3 potential destinations where I could find her. I hope she's worth all this trouble.
So yeah, it just doesn't really jive well with the logic of reality and how things actually are. On that note, let's change up the subject a little bit, shall we? Let's talk a little bit about the AI investment. Now, let me be perfectly clear here. I am not a fan of AI in the way in which it's being used nowadays, particularly in regards to the current tech boom and how things are going at the moment. The reason why it is because, well, I'm perfectly honest here, it's basically at this point in time, in my mind, to be nothing more than a bubble. So, yeah. It's like when using software skills. And the reason why I say that is because ultimately speaking, like a lot of this stuff is being pushed forward. A lot of this stuff is being pushed forward in a fashion that's very nebulous. Like, people keep saying that, oh, it's going to go ahead and that's going to go, oh, that this thing is going to go ahead and help us, like, fight cancer and fight all kinds of diseases and whatnot. And while that technically is true, I do believe, in fact, that AI is going to fight the various cancer cells and can be helpful in helping us identify and be able to deal with cancer in a way that's like unprecedented, if you would. The way in which they're pitching it is very nebulous and doesn't really make much sense to pitch it the way in which that they're doing so. A lot of research in medical technology and medical presentation is very promising, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there in that regard. So, but the way in which I do heat vulnerability on heat damage, okay. But then there's a simple fact that some of these claims that people are making in terms of like how it's going to help AI are very nebulous. And how it's going to help with disease disease claims are also very much suspect. Like the recent press conference was claimed that this way in which cancer cells end up replicating in the human body are similar to that way of a coding system, which will allow AI to be able to determine when people will get cancer at a faster rate before they even get the cancer. But what? Not everyone gets cancer at the rate in which they do so. In fact, it's all cell replication stuff that's very hard to determine. Yeah, sure, there are people who never get cancer throughout their lives, but there are people who are also perfectly healthy, of healthy diets, and then they get cancer. How exactly are you going to make that determination? That I mean, how exactly are you going to make that determination in terms of like being able to figure out who's going to get cancer and who's not during the future? Doesn't make any sense. Unless, of course, they're just lying about it. Which probably does make the most sense, honestly. I like the color of this red one, but this magazine looks sick as all hell. I do like it. So yeah. I mean, AI could be used for so many things that more or less is it would more or less be very indicative of helping people. You know, it could help parse research papers more or less. It has been used to parse research papers to an ungodly degree that is far beyond any human's capability of being able to do so. Like, you know, to the point in which it will actually help us determine exactly AI can also be used to generate a lot of data as well. The idea, of course, that AI can help us to be able to go through a crap ton of info, which will uh, more or less cut down on research time, is also quite promising too. So there's no reason to disregard in that regard.
You have called for me, Inquisitor, and I am here to serve.
From now on, I will need you on the bridge Astropath. Connect to your fellow Astropaths in the choir of the Caligari Conclave, and pass me the messages which deal with priority assignments.
As you wish, Inquisitor.
So, it's not necessarily that I hate AI or that I don't like AI or I think AI is a buzzword. AI is very much a real thing. And it can be used in a lot of very promising ways that could genuinely help not only just the quality of life, but just the means of being able to do a lot of good for humanity. I'm just really skeptical of how it's being used currently in the way in which tech oligarchs seem to be interested in using and selling it to us. Primarily because I consider myself to be a techie. Technology is something that I'm interested in, and it is something that I do kind of think I would like to say I'd specialize in, even though I've never really studied it. I've studied it more or less on the consumerist aspect as well as try to understand it on the technical aspect too. But let's all be perfectly clear here. A lot of the way in which the technology is being centered out to use is just really being buzzy, if you would. 3D technology in VR was very much like a gimmick for all intents and purposes. I mean, there were applications of VR technology that could help us, that could actually do a lot of good. And really, in medical technology with genetics and all that stuff, being able to quite literally study genetics and being able to study the effects of certain diseases, if you would, from the perspective of VR by being able to basically model the genetics in a virtual reality environment, allowing us to pick it apart, put it back together, that kind of stuff. To understand to understand how it's going to work would greatly improve people's lives, and it has improved people's lives in that regard. We found a lot of stuff, and we've found a lot of use of it in the field of the study of genetics. But let's be realistic here. A lot of people are just using it as sort of a get-rich-quick scheme, with regards to video gaming. I mean, VR technology in video gaming, for example, has not advanced one iota. since the 90s, really. Like, all the VR games are gimmicks. All of them. And I can prove it too, by the way. That's, this is, real quick. We can go on Steam to kind of prove this shit real quick. Hold on. Let's see here. The VR. There we go. VR title. Let me go ahead and mute this real quick for a second. So yeah, let's look at some of the games that are on VR title. Now, even though they're on my wish list, I only put these things on there because out of like a sense of thinking, oh, this might actually be something here, you know. But more or less, a lot of these games on my wish list are games that exist beyond VR. Like you can buy this game, for example, without buying into VR. So don't pay much attention to that at all. Like Star Wars Squadrons being VR, it's just a flight sim, nothing more, nothing less. And from what I've seen, a very poorly created flight sim that doesn't really give you that much of an understanding of, or even complexity, or even being able to, use the game. And it even runs on both standard and VR mode, which means that you can just buy it without buying VR. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem there. Blade and sorcery, sword warfare. This might actually be, yeah, it's just a simple game like that. I mean, the only advancement that's happened here with regards to AI, I mean, with regards to VR, I should say, is the fact that you can wave controllers around and simulate hand movement in some regards, uh, with regards to contextual movement of the controls, but you're not really doing much. I mean, this stuff might actually be somewhat interesting. It might actually be a good game to play to some degree. In fact, might be one of the few good VR games out there. But like a lot of it is fairly gimmicky. So yeah, like this one, Grim. Survival, VR, crafting, multiplayer, open world. Okay. Um, oh look, you can play it. Look, it requires VR headset in order to play, but it's very gimmicky. Got a mixed rating and only 78 reviews. The Skyrim VR, which why the hell would you want to play Skyrim in VR? Like, doesn't make much sense to me, anyways. Pirates VR, so many zombies. Like a lot of these games are just like lighter simulator. In fact, looks like you can play even without VR, so it's not VR driven. So my point is that there's a lot of technology which was pushed on us, on the gaming community particularly, that was meant to be very gimmicky, and VR is one of them. AI is another one that's being pushed onto gamers via NVIDIA and whatnot. Um, you know, but AI is just being a gimmick. That's all it is. That's all it ever will be. You know, at least in terms of like the way in which the tech oligarchs are trying to go ahead and push them out, push them onto us. So yeah, go ahead and try this real quick. Oh wait, Frozen Wasteland, my bad. I meant to look at the lore for that one there. Hold on. An ocean planet covered by a vast archipelago where large flotillas harvest local aquatic species of fauna and deliver the catch to the gigantic processing plants scattered all over the islands. Unconfirmed rumors have been spreading of a mysterious space inhabiting the the lightless depths of it for a very long time now, and the generators of the Adeptus Mechanicus maintain several research temples on the planet. Okay. Since hard was not hard enough, I'm going to go into extreme here. I followed the coordinates to okay, yeah. And the other reason why it is I'm really skeptical of it is because of the fact that the companies announced at the White House during a Trump briefing, when she got up in front of the podium to tell us that they were going to be doing this AI stuff. He read off a prompter. He read off, not a prompter, a presentation which was handed to him. He didn't sound excited at all. It wasn't his idea to do so, and it seems like it was all based around the fact that people dumped a crap ton of money into his campaign, and now they're getting their free advertisement there. But also, they made an announcement that they're going to be putting up $500 billion into the investment of the development of AI.
Inquisitor, according to the coordinates you found, this area is one of the potential locations where your Magos Biologus could be. And it seems you've also got company.
Which is being pitched in an incredibly opaque fashion. And I mean that primarily because, well, it's an incredibly opaque fashion because, like, they're not really telling us where the money is coming from. You know, is it going to be private? Is it private money that's being injected into this stuff? Probably not. How much of this money is government? Is it the majority of it? Is it actually like a substantial amount of money that the government amount of money that the government is putting forth? Is it an insubstantial amount, and is the private sector going to pick up the rest? How much of this investment is going to be geared towards medical
Inquisitor, we have received a distress call from a rogue trader in orbit. His transport crew on the ground was attacked by hostiles while moving important supply rates to the local administratum cloisters. They humbly ask you to secure the cargo before the cultists return for the goods.
I mean, Trump made the particular announcement, but he made it in a fashion that made an announcement in a particular fashion which made it seem like that there was going to be government funding going on there. But you know, there's also contradictions on it based on the fact that the company, the people doing the company stuff, are themselves like being kind of vague about where the money is coming from. Like they say that they're going to be the ones putting the money forward. So there's a bit of deliberate obfuscation going on around here. I think I do believe that. Well, when it comes down to it, I do believe that Bosch in particular is right about this. When he says that this is all about wealth transfers. You know, these companies are getting a crap ton of money directly from the government coffers, as opposed to indirectly, like it normally is.
Burn! Aiming.
Because usually it's like you inject a crap ton of money into the Pentagon, and then that money gets siphoned over to various different companies. And those companies, when they become rich, even though they're not really doing it. And a bunch of money is unaccounted for as a result of this. So, yeah, I think that's what's going on here. It's really just sad and pathetic the way in which tech oligarchs found a buzzword, which is AI, and now they're driving it into the ground, which will make
I'm
everyone
ready for my trial of
really
faith.
skeptical of the potential benefits that genuine AI technology advancements are going to have on the world at large. Not to mention, so many people are getting bought into the idea that,
I've found the supplies.
We'll remove the cargo from the area, but it will take some time. The sensors located several cultist troops approaching your location. Get ready to defend the supplies.
Kill the heretic. Repent. Die, heretic. Burn, burn.
and I think a lot of this is due to the fact that like so many people are just completely illiterate about what AI actually means. So many people are also convinced that some of the generative AI that people are pushing forward are, for whatever reason, like, oh. I'll take the trend. Oh. Oh yeah, I see. One way, two way.
Die, unclean. Cultist threat
yeah.
exterminated. The cargo is safe.
Praise the Emperor. We'll take over from here and get them to the rogue trader. You can proceed with your mission, Inquisitor.
I mean, people are trying to do the thing on which they say, "Oh, the AI has like these secret words that it can use because it can't use like these other words and whatnot. It's prevented from using them and whatnot." But these words that they're preventing them from using it are like, you know, are meant to be things that doesn't allow it to express its true self. But if you
Loading.
actually like use train it to use another word in reference to this other word, like it means that the AI is expressing itself, which means that the AI is self-aware. But no, that's not what's going on there. What's being done here is that you've actually just simply found a loophole in the presentation of the information. What's being done here is that a loophole has been found in the presentation of information.
For the Emperor!
Loading.
And what I mean by loophole is that, of course, they didn't think that people would actually try to get the AI to circumnavigate uh, certain words and how they're being used, the way in which they were expressing themselves, because the AI doesn't express itself. It's all like coding. It's all information, basically root information. It's meant to simulate the idea, the notion that the AI is actually talking or saying something when it's not. You know, if you attempt to get it to express itself creatively, it can, in fact. You know, if you ask AI programs to like hard boil an egg, you know, it won't understand what an egg is. It won't doesn't understand what it means to hard boil something. It won't understand uh, what it means to hard boil an egg, or why anyone would even ask to hard boil an egg. All it just understands is like root information and root stuff that's already been trained to be.
Captain, Metrodor Thelema is definitely not here.
That's quite unfortunate, Inquisitor.
At least I've eliminated the local threat, so this whole journey hasn't been a complete waste of my time.
We have 2 other sets of coordinates. Maybe you'll find her on the next world.
All we'll do is simply find root information that we'll be able to technically understand on a very basic programming level. Like for example, if an AI is designed to like not clip up and like mess up on going on a particular object, like say for example in a video game like I'm doing right now, if you code an AI to realize, okay, there's something in the path here, I gotta go around it and make it go around that, it will actually go around that. But there are ways in which to mess up that pathing to get it to get stuck and freak out. You know? That is by and large what's going on there. Is that the AI is that you found a
Loading.
loophole for what's going on there. You haven't there isn't really any kind of there isn't really any kind of traditional understanding as you and I would do so. So I just, and I think a lot of this has to do with people generally being just tech illiterate and not understanding how programming works on a basic level, which is the understanding I have of it, obviously. Like, I don't understand programming on a very substantial level. I understand in a very basic level. But I understand it enough I understand it enough to like parse what's going on with regards to the programming, so I'm not being like fed nonsense and bullshit. Okay. Just seeing what things are real quick. I'll probably go over this some other time, but yeah. So, yeah, that's my whole thought on the AI thing that's been happening with Trump, at the very least. So I guess the next topic, and this is the most unfortunate one. Let me make sure I'm not messing it up by getting the description wrong of it real quick for a second. Just making sure I'm getting the description right, because I think I've got it right. Oh yeah, there's the tariffs. Almost forgot to mention about the tariffs to Brazil, of course. By the way, which for the record, this ties into the thing I was talking about earlier with regards to the deportations or the ICE raids um, with regards to illegal immigration. After they got a bunch of people who were illegal to be deported, they put them on military planes and military helicopters in order to be able to ship them over to Brazil, which by the way is extremely expensive, completely unnecessary. It should have been using just regular commercial airliners as far as I'm concerned. But of course, this is an effort uh, to shore up the coffers in the military industrial complex, because obviously the effort to like you know um, to repair this stuff, to maintain this stuff, well after it's been used, is a tremendous amount of money into the hands of private contractors and private contracting companies. So it's just really a bit of a problem there. But then there's the fact that like you know after we did that, Brazil didn't want to take them, refused them because of our involvement in military, because of the military being involved in, which is like the classic sort of liberal. Ooh, we don't want you to be mean to these people, even as you're basically doing something effectively against national law or that's illegal within your own country or whatever. We want you to do it nice with a smile, which is just a bunch of bullshit. There shouldn't be that type of behavior coming from America, anyways. But I guess America wants to be, or the people running America, anyways, wants to be racist rather than being effective. So so after the Brazilian president refused to take the deportations, Trump is now commanding that there be tariffs be put in place to Brazil. like a fucking like a damn child for all intents and purposes. It doesn't make any sense for him to just say, uh, for him to just commit to tariffs unless you're just throwing a temper tantrum. I mean, and the tariffs are insane. It's like 20%, 25% going to Brazil, which are expected to then bump up to 50% after a certain period of time. No sense whatsoever. That's just only going to make things expensive coming from Brazil. For us, it's not going to affect whatsoever the corporations who did that stuff, who engage in the trade from Brazil to America because they're getting a lot of money from it, obviously. They're getting a lot of payback from it. They're getting a lot of kickbacks from it. It's not going to affect Brazil's economy whatsoever. Under the simple auspices that they're not going to be the ones paying for it because we're going to be the ones paying for it because we have to go ahead and actually buy the goods in order for them to actually be anything there. I mean, honestly, like the tariff thing is just stupid. I've always said that the way in which America needs to bring manufacturing back is to make it so that way companies who don't do manufacturing here in America should have their should have taxes put on those specific companies to like pay for the amount of money that we don't get from manufacturing being here. Versus, of course, if they put those manufacturing jobs here in America, they will not get those taxes and they won't get those like costs on their company. Now, a lot of people would say, "Oh, that would just make people not want to sell their goods to America." Wrong. America quite literally consumes half of the GDP of the planet, meaning all goods like sold and traded throughout the entirety of the planet that come to America, about half that are sold and traded and distributed everywhere. Half of that comes to America. So it's just pretty obvious what's going to be a that's going to be a problem then because of then like spurting half the world's GDP, which no company is really going to do for all intents and purposes that engages in international trade and international domestic production uh, in that regard. So but the tariffs are just dumb. They just don't work. There's a reason why. In fact, let's see. When did America stop doing tariffs? Stop using tariffs. Here we go. It said the United States pursued a protectionist policy from the beginning of the 19th century until the middle of the 20th century. Between 1861 and 1933, they had one of the highest average tariff rates on manufactured imports in the world. After 1942, the U.S. began to promote worldwide free trade. What happened after 1942? World War II. The manufacturing of the world had been basically destroyed in Europe, so we end up promoting free trade effectively. And we removed all of our tariffs. And it's only because of that America has become the economic powerhouse on the entirety of the planet. So, makes no sense. Makes no sense that we're bringing back tariffs, so that's really hard. And then, of course, the last thing we're going to be talking about is Greenland. Now, let me be perfectly honest here. I'm going to go ahead and that one was kind of hard. So, but yeah. And then from the Terran infestation has been discovered in the remote valley on the planet. Artillery and support forces have been designated to assigned to your command. Standard cleansing protocols apply. Okay.
100,000 worlds, 100,000 wars. There is no respite. There is nowhere to hide. Across the galaxy, there is only war.
Trump is actually going ahead. Oh, Greenland thing, I guess. All things considered, it shouldn't really surprise me, but I guess it does, because I didn't think it would actually be done foolishly. You know? Although the context, of course, initially was that Trump was going to go and invade America. And he was going to invade Greenland. Which, I'll be honest, wasn't really going to happen in the beginning. Buying Greenland is a move that I didn't particularly see coming. The reason why, of course, I didn't see it coming is because, Greenland is often overlooked in a lot of ways for a lot of reasons. The reason why, of course, is because, there's really nothing there. There's nothing really to latch on to. As a country, we're always taught, as a country at the very least, we were always taught that, oh, Iceland is actually the place that people would have a lot of money from, would have a lot of investment from. Well, Greenland is just filled with ice in and of itself. But there's a lot of untapped natural resources going on in Greenland that are going to be revealed as we just have to know.
I'm ready for my trial of faith.
Recoil, unclean.
Okay, so that thing is like spitting out all kinds of words.
Recoil, unclean.
Kill the heretic. Perish.
go. Okay, that's fine. Now, of course, like, how serious is he on this? That would be very serious.
Die, heretic.
Over heaps.
He spent like a number of hours on the phone trying to get this deal to go through, attempting to make it a viable thing that could possibly happen. Which, I'll be honest, if he does buy Greenland, it is going to be very much a bonus thing to happen. The reason why I say that is because, for all intents and purposes, as the polar ice caps go, as land becomes more and more revealed, there's going to be a lot of untapped resources that are going to be coming through.
The battle is swinging our way. One last push and the victory is ours.
Loading.
So, is this a bad move for Trump? Well, threatening to annex Greenland, specifically through military force, that was bad. But actually just going ahead and trying to buy Greenland, trying to get Greenland through legitimate means that are not an effort to antagonize our allies, actually makes a bunch of sense, really. Not only like geopolitically speaking, it would actually help us. So, So is it something he's actually going to be going through with? I don't know. That might very well be the case. It might very well also be the case that he's just blustering and trying to make as much media buzz about it, just so that way you can get people to say, hey, Trump's buying Greenland. He's actually like trying to help the average person, and then does nothing. Then the whole thing goes through, falls through, nothing ever gets done of it, and he claims that we have Greenland, even though we don't. Hold on. Just notice that we have more gear here. Okay.
realm has found him. Aiming.
Perish, filth.
Once again, the enemies of the Imperium failed miserably.
So yeah, that's really all in all that I have to say in that regard. I mean, if he gets his Greenland through buying it, great. If he doesn't, if he just continues to antagonize people, if he tries to put tariffs on Denmark because they say, no, we don't want to sell Greenland, that's probably what's going to happen more so than anything else. But I think the latter is probably going to happen because Trump is just being extremely belligerent, which could have told you that, to be honest, but yeah. Opponent slot undo calculators. Okay. Program lockdown. Well, got a bunch of passive points here. I guess I'm going to put them in range at the very least. Yep. Alright. Your level will grow by completing missions which represents your bonus within the Holy Orders of Inquisition. New levels unlock new item types which you can find during the missions or can be obtained from the in-mission boxes. Okay. Progression, specific levels also unlock new inoculator components, perks, and additional slots for both. But most importantly, every level gives you one or sometimes two skill points. Every character class has different attributes. All three main attributes have 5 milestones, and after reaching one of them, you automatically gain extra abilities. You can earn attribute points by completing heroic deeds. These are interchangeable passive abilities which can empower your Inquisitor. In the beginning, you have one perk slot, but after you reach level 15 and 30, the other two will unlock. Now, new perks can be unlocked by completing your deeds or raising your Inquisitorial level. So, yeah. Gain a banner charge upon using the inoculator. I don't know what a banner charge is. I'm going to have to look that up at some point. Let me go and go through this one here, right? go through contempt more than anything else with it because I seem to be using that more so than anything else. Yeah. And I can always decrease them and put them in other things, and that's good. Go ahead and go through inventory for a second real quick just to find something that's actually worth putting in my slot here. I didn't notice that was a So yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to talk about now at this point in time. So I'm just going to be playing the game now. poison effect, so I think I'll go ahead and use this one here. So we'll go with my flamer. I need to get an updated flamer here somehow. The one I've got isn't exactly going to cut it. You know, it's got like 33 damage, whereas my other set here, bolt gun, has 55 damage. So, whatever. Alright, let's see how long I've been playing this for. About an hour and a half. So I guess I got like one more half hour to go through until I go ahead and call it a day here. So yeah. The Tyranid mission was really tough, honestly. So yeah. I'm only at level 11 there, so let's go ahead and do Tariffs 4. Frozen world first inhabited by a colony of penitents living under the surface for centuries. It has grown into a vast network of subterranean cities, but the original vaults are dying. Prolonged warp surges created a phenomenon called creeping ice in the northern hemisphere, which devours anything that produces heat. The population of the affected areas lived inside armored vaults, eventually to be cracked open by the ice anomaly. I'm going to do this one then. So about this mission will be done, and then I'll be ending the stream probably.
We have a tough nut to crack. Our forces are unable to launch an aerial strike on a bunker protected by counter-battery units. You take out the artillery pieces first, then mark the bunker for the expurgation, while I feed you the necessary data from orbit.
Expecting a space marine there. Or a trader marine, I should say. Ooh, almost bought the dust there. Almost bit the dust there.
One less target to worry about. Keep going.
The moment of retribution is here. Kill the heretic. Target locked. Recoil unclean. Target acquired. Target in sight. Perish, filth. Aiming. Target in sight.
One less target to worry about. Keep going.
Okay. So the other gunship was all the way over there.
For the Emperor! Loading. Burn! Burn!
Oh boy, that was a good one.
Perish, filth! Amen.
Target acquired.
Burn! Burn! Die unclean!
One less target to worry about. Keep going.
Okay, now I gotta get rid of those bosses there, I guess. Or... No, that's right. I gotta go and mark that bunker, which is all the way over there. Alright.
moment of retribution is here.
Aiming. Die unclean.
There's that one done.
Loading.
Target acquired.
Alright.
You are still alive and more or less in one piece. That's a success, I guess. Initiating exfiltration rituals.
Alright. Oh. Now I'm done with that. I'll be ending the stream now. It's honestly been a nice talking with nobody, I guess, since nobody's really showed up in the chat to defend any of this shit that Trump's been doing. But I suppose it should be kind of expected, given the fact that I'm just, you know, pretty much a unknown nobody at this point in time. But yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna spin my points here real quick. Sell my gear, and I'll be done. Because you know, I'd rather do this right now rather than have to do it later when I log back in here. Okay. That's everything. Oh. See, there's a flamer available to me. It's not, but there's another bolt gun there. But it doesn't quite have the same. Doesn't have this quite the same effects I was looking for. So I guess I'll go ahead and skip it now. Is there anything here I can buy? Not really. nothing really to put forth here now, so yeah. Alrighty, guess I'm gonna be selling everything I've got now. Wait, that was a flamer, wasn't it? Hold on. Oh no, that was a melter gun. My bad. False alarm. Oh, that was a flamer first. That was close, but not quite the thing I wanted. Alrighty. So let's see real quick. Make sure I'm actually in the spot that I should be at, rather than just going straight towards there. Yeah, okay, I'm up there. Okay. So yeah, I'll be ending the stream here, and I will see you guys later. Yeah. See you. No, not what I wanted to do. Not what I wanted to do either. Alright. Have a nice time.